So our topic is how NFTs will disrupt social networks, which is one of my favorite topics, because I personally think that Google has taught us to search, social networks have taught us to create content, but we haven't owned it, and we've created value for others. And NFTs are now allowing us to register that content that we have been pushing out to social networks. So I'm going to get my panel to introduce themselves. Rachel, Swan, and Krista. Rachel, would you like to go first?
Thank you, Jodee. I'm Rachel, and social media and NFTs are all I live, breathe, eat, sleep. This is the first time that I'm talking in front of people about this. I was a preschool teacher for 13 years, so I'm just going to imagine you all as little children. And I'm super excited to be speaking with Swan and Krista today.
Hi everyone, I'm Swan Sit. I was in the corporate world for a long time as the head of digital marketing for companies like Nike, Estee Lauder, Revlon, and Elizabeth Arden. I became an accidental creator on Clubhouse when that blew up, and I've been really passionate about democratizing information, access, and knowledge. And by doing drops for people like Platin and Edward Snowden and Paris Hilton and Floyd Mayweather, I ended up going from hosting to advising because, as you guys know, so much of NFTs is marketing, and that's my background, so that's why I'm here today.
Go Swan. Krista.
Hi, my name is Krista Gambrell, and I'm so excited to be here today. You can look on the screen. I'm subbing for Bobby, who...
Much better looking. Upgrade.
Yes, of course. My background is in technology, art, and venture capital. So I've been working in the VC and startup space for the past 10 years. And I ended up stepping away from that about a year ago and decided to start working in NFTs. Launched a platform with the most famous artists in February called NiftyPrinter.com. And then my own collection. Eventually I ended up joining Wilder World as head of community. And I'm very passionate about the future of what NFTs can bring for society and democratization. So thanks for having me today.
Fantastic, thank you. So I'm interested, who in the audience thinks that NFTs are going to disrupt social networks? Yes? So we're going to make this a little bit of an interactive session. I'd like to say who feels most passionately about the topic, because I'm going to get you to tell everyone else why you think, and then we'll get back to you guys. Why do you think NFTs will disrupt social networks? Who wants to go first? No one? Right there? Where? Oh yeah, come up. And while we're waiting for this panel to come up, Swan, would you like to tell the guys why you think social networks will be disrupted by NFTs?
The NFT community is a social network right now. They're so inextricably linked, you can't say that they're not changing at the same time. In fact, they're evolving for the better. I mean, NFTs do well because of community, and social media is the digital representation of physical communities. So they're inextricably linked, and in fact, I think as NFTs move our knowledge and consumption forward, we'll force the social networks that exist to change and adapt and actually create new ones.
Awesome. This is Alistair. Alistair, will you tell us why you think?
I think the verification of ownership of the ownership of we'll do music. So right now there's a huge issue with music and copyright with YouTube, Twitch, and various social media platforms where influencers or people or streamers can't really use copyrighted music. So potentially in the future there could be a solution with NFTs and smart contracts to create a royalty-based system for people to get copyrights and whatnot. And I think that's one of the ways that NFTs will disrupt social networks.
Awesome, thank you. Did you all hear about that DJ who got thrown off Instagram? Do you know that story? I won't mention his name, but he was publishing pornographic fruit on Instagram. and they closed his account. And he said, okay, I'm now going to, and it was soft porn. I hear it wasn't very offensive. And so he then published the soft pornographic fruit as NFTs. Someone at the back likes it. Was that you? Were you the one? No. So he's sold $300,000 worth of NFTs, and he never went back to Instagram. And maybe that's a sort of a crazy example. For me, it's that NFTs have the ability to carry ownership provenance. So when I get an NFT, I feel like I'm part of whoever owned it. I'm part of the community who is buying the like NFT. So that makes me feel good. I know that I own it. And then the little twist at the end, which is I might be able to make some money out of this. Actually, I think that's the thing that gets me across the line. So just like social networks, I can create content, I can be collaborative, I can engage with people, and then I can actually make some money out of it. And I think it's just the tip of the iceberg, because if Google indexes NFTs, when you type in crispy bacon, which is my favorite thing, I love crispy bacon. Anyone else in the audience like crispy bacon? Okay, we're going to do the crispy bacon series of NFTs. And we'll be the crispy bacon community. Right? And if Google indexes crispy bacon NFTs, you don't believe me, and it comes up, our community will be the ones that others want to join if they're Googling crispy bacon. So I think Google has extraordinary ability to make NFTs social. They're my thoughts. Swan, do you want to continue? Or Rachel, would you like to jump in? Go ahead, Rachel.
Same question?
Yeah.
So, I'm also an author, and I've experienced a lot of people taking my words and using them like their own forever. I got famous on Tumblr and Pinterest, and a lot of the things I was saying were being circulated, and people were, sharing them as if they were their own thoughts. And then I also spent a lot of time building my social platforms, not getting paid for it. The only things that could have made me money were posting other people's things, and I never really wanted to do that. So what I love about NFTs is that everything I invest, my time, my energy, my thoughts, they're all things that I feel I'm getting energy back for. So what I emit, I then receive, and I don't need to worry about whether or not, someone posts something on the blockchain. It says it's mine when it's mine. So That's what I love.
I'm going to ask someone else to come up if they want to talk about this topic in just 1 second. My other point is that a few years ago, we were all users. We were all users of a network. And guess what we are now? What are we now? No? Creators. Thank you, Ray. Everyone, can I introduce you to Ray? Come on up, Ray. Ray is a creator. Say hi to guys.
Oh, wow. Geez, my project. Well, everything in time and space is an object. Everything in social media is an object. Everything has ownership that has not been currently verified and has not been currently accepted. And when we can connect and define things around the attributes that make them, such as stories or media, we can bring those objects to life, similar to how humans have lives in media. So it'll be really cool to see how objects impact social networks when they become not just part of the conversation, but they become humanized. These things that we've experienced since the dawn of time are part of our story. This technology will allow us to connect it all together in one place.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
I love that point.
I have one more person coming up. Sorry, go ahead, Krista.
Yeah, I'm happy to share my thoughts on this. So when I think about how NFTs will disrupt social media networks, I think about the principles that drive social media networks: value, utility, user-generated content, and engagement. So when I break those things down, those principles are transferable from social networks, centralized social networks that we know today, like Twitter and Facebook, and they're also transferable over to NFT networks and platforms So when we think about user-generated content, those are the artists. They're creating content, and that's fully traceable on the blockchain. And so that provenance allows people to, what Jodee was talking about earlier, it allows people to trace back to the origin, and allows the self-enacting contracts to support the artist, the original artist that created it. So I think that's a self-driven economy right there, right?
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully we have been making history today. We were in Times Square. Gary Vee and I had a really interesting conversation at the town hall. Who was at the town hall this morning? Yeah. So for those of you who weren't, the town hall is a 100-year-old theatre that was built for activists who wanted to get the vote 100 years ago, women who wanted to get the vote. And so we were making history by having our conference there. I think we're going to be making history when user-generated content starts being called creator-generated content. And that's you guys. And you are that NFT.NYC community. So thank you. But what's different now in the technology, because we've had BlackBerry and we've had Nokia phones and we've had Apple phones, but when consumers have voted with their feet and bought these products in the past, the money has gone into a central place, a company. But when you guys do things now, it's going onto a decentralized place. And it is impossible, I think, for big companies to take over a blockchain. I've never heard of a blockchain being taken over by a corporation. And I think that's a good thing. And this gentleman, sorry, what's your name? Come on over. Eric. Everyone meet Eric.
Ladies, I'd love to hear from each of you a project or a drop that has utilized community well and why you think that was. And just please start with you.
So I recently dropped a project with 8 of my friends, or 7 of my friends, called Ethereals. And we sold out 12,345 NFTs in 18 minutes. Thank you. And personally, my role was to community manage. I lived in our Discord server and welcomed every person that joined. Right now, I think we have around 18,000 people in there. And the part that made the project as successful as it was the community. I live and breathe it every day, so to me, that's the most successful.
There's a great variety of projects out there that certain elements I think are really great. I'm not going to steal Chris's thunder because I think Wilder World is doing a great job of building this universe and everyone's minting these race cars. I think with iHeart, there was an element that was really cool about it because they minted 1 million NFTs on Tezos in one night for next to nothing, and they gave them away. So I'm not saying everything was perfect, but for someone who doesn't know what an NFT is, with your Visa and $5, you can buy one and start learning that journey. So I think the democratization of scale of brands and media companies is how we start bringing more people into the fold. And I think projects like Boss Beauties, right? I mean, not only is it by women for women, but they just were the first piece of art by any woman hung in the New York Stock Exchange. And there's a whole program of mentorship and access. And I think they're doing a revenue share with the holders as they launch more projects, not just in the NFT space, but they're launching physical products. They already sell phone cases in Verizon stores. So thinking about physical to digital is a really fun mix.
So I'm gonna, before I start plugging Wilder World, one of the projects that I really, well, it's more of a company, but it started out initially as a project that we all know and love. It's CryptoPunks. So Larva Labs essentially has created a platform for other communities and other artists to come with artblocks.io. So I think essentially building spaces for micro communities to live is incredibly important. So with Wilder World, what we're doing is we're creating a platform called Zero, which is a decentralized protocol that we're using to launch our metaverse. And essentially, you can, more metaverses can be launched on Zero too. So I think when I think about the meta aspect of community. It's how do we help community members help others, and that's when you can reach scalability, right? And so when I think of the meta aspect of building in the decentralized space, is how do you create that layer so that multiple micro communities or micro metaverses can exist, and then also all of our shared goal is interoperability too. So I think really just developing relationships, recognizing the importance of building together, and moving forward together is how we can leverage community.